Im Leben gibt es viele Hindernisse. Dein Studium an der Frankfurt School gehört nicht dazu. Bewirb dich jetzt auf FS.
Hello, and welcome to the third event in our EdTech and Organizational Learning Meetup series. My name is Ruby Salvatore, and I will be guiding you through tonight's experience. Tonight, we're going to talk about technology for higher ed and corporate learning. We'll talk about solutions to enable learning, choosing the right solution, and building an EdTech ecosystem. I'd like to start by thanking our sponsors, the Frankfurt School AI Lab and Effiport GmbH. The Frankfurt School AI Lab is the home for AI and digital transformation here at Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. Effiport GmbH is an EdTech and e-learning company that is devoted to being a research and development partner for its customers. We're very interested in learning and experimenting to find out what works, and we're thrilled about this opportunity to learn together with you. So thank you as well for being here tonight with us. And to kick things off, I'd like to tell you what we have in store for you. All right, we have 4 speakers for you tonight. The first is Jose Maria Guillen, co-founder of Task and Time, and his talk tonight is the effect of procrastination in learning and how to solve it. Then we have Hilmar Salac, business development manager, higher ed at Panasonic Europe, and his talk tonight is easy creation, management, and sharing of knowledge for higher ed and corporate learning. Then we'll hear from Cornelia Schneider-Punks, educational specialist and modern classroom team lead at Microsoft Deutschland. And her talk tonight is Learning Never Stops, how to engage students and enable school success. Then, last but not least, we'll hear from Uwe Erpel, head of EdTech Engineering at Cornelsen Verlag, and also IMS Leadership Board member. His talk tonight is Using Standards to Create a Flexible and Scalable EdTech Ecosystem. Now, before we move on, if you have not yet registered, please do register in Twitch. This is where a lot of the interaction will be happening tonight. This is where you can ask questions of the speakers. And later on in the networking session, this is where we will also interact with other participants. So if you haven't, please do register so that you can participate in the chat. And if you have registered, make sure you're logged in so that you can really take part in tonight's whole event. All right, our first speaker tonight is part of AWS EdStart, a startup accelerator that supports EdTech companies and is a really high-quality startup community. His name is Jose Maria Guillen, co-founder of Task and Time. He's a mechanical engineer, a teacher, a consultant. He's passionate about people and human development. Task and Time is a software company in EdTech to help teachers and students manage time in smarter ways. So his talk tonight again is the effect of procrastination in learning, how to solve it. At the end of his talk, we will have a short Q&A session. So if you have questions at any point throughout the presentation, please do just post those in the Twitch chat. I will be keeping an eye on it. I will make sure your questions get asked and that Jose has the opportunity to answer you. All right, so now I would like to hand over to Jose.
Thank you, Ruby. Guten Tag if you're in Germany. And thank you for allowing us to join and share with you a little bit what we're doing and how to use technology in order to solve certain problems. And in our case, how we are using technology in order to help people to solve the issue of procrastination. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So what's procrastination, what effects has on learning, and obviously how to overcome procrastination and to become a better learner. The first thing is to talk about what is procrastination. It's a weird word. Some people have problems with the pronunciation. I don't know how it translates in other languages. It's not usual to use it in many countries, though it comes from Latin, and it's quite widespread, this concept, and it's basically this human tendency of I'll do it later. I'll do it when I have a better time. I don't feel like doing. So all these ideas that is leaving it for tomorrow, it can be reduced on this feeling that, oh, I have the whole evening to do everything, and a little bit later it's like, oh, I don't get it. I'm not going to get it. It's too late. So basically, it's that feeling that divides in two parts, the 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 time, and even it's not today, it's tomorrow, or it's the day after tomorrow. It goes over and over and over because we are delaying it. Which are the causes of procrastination? Why do people procrastinate? Basically, it's because we are not fully aware of our time, what we need to do. It's a lack of self-regulation. Most people will know about this famous marshmallow test that was done many, many years ago, and it's been done regularly in any psychology classes. Is like asking kids whether to choose eat a marshmallow right now or wait for 5 minutes and eat two marshmallows later. Should I eat it? Should I get my reward right away, even though it's a lesser reward, or should I go all the way and get a better reward in a little bit later? And that really relates tremendously to the future success in life as we go. And it's kind of one of the reasons for procrastination is this lack of self-regulation, deciding not to live for later whatever pleasure we have right now, and tackle the problem. Another of the causes of procrastination is this tendency to perfectionism. It's not that only those who are lazy are mm, professional procrastinator, but also perfectionists, those who are willing to do it so good that they feel like it's better to start when I have more time, when I have this book, when I have this extra material. So instead of tackling the problem right now, I want to do it so perfectly that at the end I'm not doing it when I have to do it, and I'm doing it later. There's nothing wrong with leaving something for later as long as it's perfectly planned, it's clear, and there's a real reason. However, there's this the issue of I should be doing something right now, but I leave it for later, and that's what the procrastination is all about. The consequences of procrastination are tremendous. It's around 20% of the students are real dramatic procrastinators, and it can go higher and higher. The the problem is that it's the first single predictor of dropping school. It's not even getting bad grades. It's not working. It's literally doing everything in the very last minute is the first predictor of whether a student will be able to complete the full education or leave it in the middle and become a dropout. So what we are coming here is to lots of things, and we reduce it in lack of planning. That's what we do. We provide a, a plan for the students. So by being aware of what the planning is, making better decisions. So maybe leaving it for tomorrow, it's a good option, but most likely it's not. And most likely the best decision will be to make it right away. But doing this planning usually it's what really makes complicated things. Doing a planning is like getting a list like this one and just figuring out where each activity, each task has to be placed, and then somebody calls and changes, and so I need to cross out my calendar and start over again. And that's so time consuming, and it's also exhausting for many people. And they just say, I don't lose my time planning, therefore I will use them better by doing. But usually this lack of planning uh, helps or increases procrastination in many ways. So what we've done is basically go from a really quick to-do list of everything that you need to do, and in just one click we paint a perfect planning, absolutely personalized, customized, with all the details, even considering when the student needs to break, and it's fully customized. Uh, mm, and whenever anything happens in real life, you just add to the system, and the system will calculate it again. So what we're doing with this automatic planning is really providing a quick picture of what should I be doing right now, and providing the information to the student to allow him or her to decide whether it's it's good decision to leave it for later, or should I start right now, because it even informs whether, when it's like, really I do not have more time, I will need to do some more things, or I will need to have work extra hours in the night, or I should drop something out because there's no time to doing everything. And that's the first reflection point that we want to bring with our technology. Doing this without technology is impossible. That's where really technology helps students, because in few seconds, literally, students can get this automatic planning fully designed for them, customized to whatever their decision making process is. And it's the way it helps to not to procrastinate, by really being aware of what I need to do right now to accomplish everything that I want. It's it's not that we are going to be studying for this procrastinator, but we are providing real time information that 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 leaving it for tomorrow will be a bad idea. Therefore, just being able to plan everything, it becomes a stress-free student. However, there's a little second part of this problem. It's like, if the teachers provide so much information to the student, but that's another product that we have, it's study task, and it helps teachers to coordinate and to really be aware whether the student have enough time to do everything that is being required on them, and it works from high school to university. So it's this combination of products really make sure that students have the time that they need to control, and they can move on. I'm open for questions, and obviously you can try it if you want. It's there's 14 days for free, so you can all go there, and soon will be opening in Google Play and Apple Store. Thank you very much, Ruby.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you for presenting that, telling us a little bit about it. I have asked in the chat if there are any questions, but before that, I actually have a question. It's a bit more of a personal question, but I'm really very curious. Because your company's name is Time and Task, which means that this procrastination and time management really is very important. How did you pick that? Was it just something that you personally had struggled with, or because it's a very specific thing?
Well, yes. The idea, the idea of the company, it's really helping people to manage their time, uh, doing everything that they have to do. The experience comes from my co-founder, Luis, who struggled really much with time management during his high school. He was doing everything that it was required, and that went with hours without end. And he was thinking all the time, should there should be a better way to do it. Why should I do all these things? Am I learning from everything that is being required? So that, added to his experience as a teacher and seeing how students were struggling, both were the driver, and we started talking about how to help and use the technology, because just doing on the paper was not possible. So that's how we decided to create Task and Time.
Interesting. Cool. Thank you for explaining. Like I said, that was just something I was very curious about. I don't have any questions here in the Twitch chat yet. I'll give it just one more second in case somebody comes up with one. All right. So then actually, I think we would move on to our next speaker. If anything does come up, you can always join the Twitch chat as well and answer there. Thank you very much, Jose. All right, our second speaker tonight is Hilmar Salac, Business Development Manager in Higher Education at Panasonic Europe. This is his 10th year with Panasonic for security systems, also visual, so projectors, displays, and Pro AV, professional camera systems. His talk tonight is Easy Creation, Management, and Sharing of Knowledge at Higher Ed and Corporate Learning. Again, we will have a short Q&A session at the end of his talk. You can post your questions in Twitch at any time throughout the presentation. I will collect them and ask them at the end. So now I would like to hand over to Hilmar.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. So I'll make it short. Hilmar Salac. Panasonic is taking care about digitalization. Digitalization in higher education as well as in corporate environment. And for this short presentation, I would like to break it down to a sentence telling it's about easy creation, management, and sharing of knowledge at higher education and corporate environment using video. Talking about higher education first, we can break down 3 scenarios that are currently in place in the environment where we are in. It's the classic lecture capture, it's the hybrid learning, and it's the online learning. Especially during the last 9 months of crisis, many of these institutes had to jump into German saying is cold water. So some were well prepared, some were not. And we have discovered everything. We have the last 3 years, we have visited, consulted, and also learned a lot from over 130 universities in DACH region, which is Germany, Austria, Switzerland. And I think from this competence, we were able and we are able to provide a glass-to-glass solution. That means from the video production, the video transmission, recording, and sharing. And Panopto is a key element. It's a strategic partner we are using for the last years to manage videos. So we basically, in Europe, all over Europe, we have more than 400 universities that are aware and that are, let's say, users of Panasonic hardware. That's our history, and that's also with the background where we are very close to this educational sector. Same time, thousands of enterprise customers are our clients. And the glass-to-glass solution, the evaluation, demonstration, project rollout is something that gave us a lot of confidence and success in this educational sector. High-end video production is key. Video management, saving it and sharing it easily it's the key message and the key feature of the solution. Panopto as a video content management system is already applied to more than 70 universities in DACH region. So there's a lot of experience. And I think the key aspect is the fully searchable video database that we are creating with such a system solution. And of course, last but not least, that's also our core task sometimes is the fully integration into the video conferencing system, into the media technology in the lecture rooms, in the meeting rooms, seminar rooms, and wherever. Here you see, I won't go into detail here, but I think one thing I was asked before is what did you actually do the last 12 months and the last 9 months of crisis? Basically, we were enabling these universities jumping into online lectures, into hybrid lecture scenarios. In the case of Kassel, for instance, within 2 weeks only, after the contract was signed, we enabled the whole university to let them 2,300 lecturers teach from home. And we enable 22,000 students to follow actually lectures from home, remotely. That's something that we're really proud of. We have done this with so many universities in the last 12 months. Looking into enterprises, we see it's not a trend actually. It's basically reality. But 6 things I've chosen to show actually the current developments or the current scenarios. So when we look into support scenarios, supporting inside customers, inside clients, but also clients, outside clients, video is a key factor, how-to videos and can be easily created with mobile clients and can be given to a database, how-to database. Securing know-how inside companies is a key element. Video is a very good tool actually to secure knowledge from work groups, from specialists, from scientists, and so on. People who might leave the company or might be retired one day. Another trend we see is an HR-driven trend. For instance, the onboarding scenarios, getting people on board, getting people in international companies, like in our case. We are based in Wiesbaden, in Germany, as a European headquarters for Panasonic. And I think only in Wiesbaden, we have more than 25 nations working, desk to desk in normal scenario. Now they're all in home office, but basically in this office, we have many languages. And getting people on board is much easier with video. Video conferences, that's something we face day by day, several and too many, to be honest. But these video conferences are our work reality, So sometimes we work in work groups, we work with clients, we work with peers. And these things we work out, we record frequently and we record regularly. And everything that we spoke, everything that's in the presentation, everything that's on our interactive screen, for instance, that we work on, we can basically save and share. So meeting minutes and nothing get lost. And of course, this video you will see, it's a dynamic video. So we can add all the comments, you can add all these annotations and everything. E-learning. Of course, we had a lot of present, let's say, live learning scenarios in our Business Solution Center where people came and still come. But we share, of course, these trainings afterwards in a recorded version. But of course, now online training, e-learning is a key factor. And we do so many online trainings and e-learning scenarios from our site. And we use Panopto for webcasting like you do today with a different system. But basically, Panopto is able to host a few thousand users and people on these trainings and coaching scenarios. Events, last but not least, that's something, virtual exhibitions, virtual shows, virtual showrooms. That's reality. That's something we do as Panasonic, but many other companies do as well. Of course, what do we actually offer for this value proposition is the camera setup, the professional cameras, also one I'm using today here, video and audio is coming from the same source. Audio tracking, I'm not showing today, but that's something we show you in a live demonstration. So the speaker will be tracked while he's walking around the seminar room, the stage, on the event hall or wherever. Remote recorders, that's something we provide, the displays, projectors, and everything together we have as a value proposition in our Business Solution Center. And we have a lot of competence from the last years we are working on this. We are not only selling something, we're really living this solution. We're using it ourselves, and we give a lot of advice beyond the Panasonic products. We have the whole ecosystem actually from media technology live and in place. Panopto in a nutshell. So record easy at any device, whether this is a mobile client, a tablet, a PC, or a seminar room with a prepared recorder. Store it in a very safe and high performance database, mostly in a cloud environment, and make it 100% searchable. Searchable means every single word I speak, every single word that's in my presentation, anything that's in my screen will be captured and is searchable afterwards. So I can search my whole video database, jump to the specific video where this topic was inside, and I can jump to the very moment where I spoke about it, where it was part of my presentation, and so on. So I pre-recorded these seminar. So afterwards, you will be able to have a look at this, and we will share this link. This is how it looks like in the Panopto player. So you can choose actually the playback streaming. So up to 5 streams in parallel can be recorded, and the viewer itself decides what to see. You can jump into these chapters who are created automatically. You can make your own bookmarks. You can do quizzes, attachments. You can fully search anything that was inside the presentation. And last but not least, the captioning, I think, is one of the key elements that is done automatically. In multi-language. That brings me to the next point, inclusion. That's a really, really important point that comes more to more in corporate as well as in higher education. Accessibility. So multi-language support of captioning is one tool we have inside. We have the variable speed playback. So you can either do it very slowly or very quickly. You have the screen reader report, you have support, you have keyboard accessibility and navigation. And then I'm coming already to the last point for today's presentation. There are 3 links we hopefully share afterwards or in the chat. The Panasonic Solution Center, you can have a virtual tour anytime or a guided tour on site. Yeah, just let me know, just contact me ourselves. And we will make this happen as well, live demonstration. So everything in place, or the trial for Panopto will be arranged from our side. So yeah, that's basically from my side. Thank you very much. And I'm curious for the questions you might have.
Perfect. Thank you, Hilmar. We do actually have a few questions from the chat. The first is, how do you decide which tools and technology to use for which university?
That's a very, very good question, actually, because we have, as I said, we have, in the last 3 years, we had the chance to talk to more than, I think, 130 universities directly. And it was very much exciting, to exchange. And every university is different. Yeah, you have, first differentiation is a private one or a public one. The second one is it a more technical one, or is it a more where business administration or something is taught? And of course, the size of the university, and even the state in Germany might be the state that makes a big difference. Yeah, and so it always depends on where the university is. Some have already 10 years of lecture capture in place. Some are just at the beginning, and I think the last 9 months were specifically saying it is so diverse. So we go really each individual case, we're listening carefully, and we're proposing actually what's technically possible. We are always, let's say, advising, or not advising, but proposing that a trial or a pilot system with maybe 1 or 2 rooms with 1 faculty could be a good start. And then we start from the smallest system, and then we could give some advice or some proposal for a rollout or a future development. Yeah, because the system is highly scalable and highly flexible. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, next question. Which one was the next one here? Can you share some details on dynamic videos? How do you make learning interactive?
So if I share my screen here, I could, for instance, show. So this is basically one idea of the result. Yeah, that was the pre-recorded one that I'm going to share afterwards. So this is basically the search function. So I search in the video and I see, oh, here, in this very moment I was speaking about, this is the presentation, and this was part of the OCR recognition. But of course, now I can start in this video, after the event, after the training, I can ask question.
Oh, cool.
So I will just ask question, and then I can, me as a teacher, as a trainer, I can answer right away. I can make my own notes. I can make my own bookmarks, and furthermore, I could, of course, I have the presentation here. I can download the presentation. I could add PDF documents. Yeah, I can add PDF documents. That means it's not just a single video that I'm playing back. Yeah, I'm playing back. It's really also then. So, for instance, this is a. Oops, let's stop it. That's a typical podcast. That's something that's automatically created and can be shared, embedded anywhere you are. You could have up to 6 videos next to each other. It's automatically created. But the dynamic version of it, it's what we have here is it's the video where I could add things. I can do quizzes. I can do the PDF things. So that's what I mean with dynamic video things. And I can add even video streams afterwards, different view angles and different things. Yeah. So that's what I think. It's the dynamic video.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I actually do have 3 more questions for you. So the next one is there a range of free videos that you created with universities of the DACH region?
Could you repeat?
Mm-hmm. Is there a range of free videos that you created with universities of the DACH region? So are there maybe some free videos that people can just check out online somewhere?
Oh yes, there are. That's something we can easily share, either via the event or via the presentation. Yeah. For instance, the case study by Reut is probably a good example. That's something we're going to share. And a few others we can provide afterwards. Yeah, there's definitely a way to share it. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. So if you share those with us, we can also always share them with the audience. All right. We have another question. Out of curiosity, is there any prognosis of implementing Panopto to accommodate school children as well? Or is there a reason why this is more suitable for higher education?
That's a specific German question, yeah, because Germany is so diverse. Yeah, we are, let's say, we are a federal state. We have so many states with different rules, different laws, and different expectations, even different fundings for schools. And when you go into one state, you will have a few hundred schools, and each individual school has the ability to raise, let's say, budget requests, yeah, to get solutions. It's very difficult to place a complex, automized, centralized system like Panopto in schools so far, and also data privacy things. It's you're laughing, yeah. It's a very common thing, yeah. We are facing. So it's not our highest priority, and also of course, students are pupils in schools are not adults. So that's also something. Yeah, in data privacy, you have to be very carefully. So technically, it's fantastic. Yeah, we can start from tomorrow. But data privacy and budget, I think, is something that is, giving us a lot of obstacles right now. Yeah, but technically we are ready. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, and the last question, I think you sort of talked about this a little bit, but it's such a fun question. I don't want to skip it. What does the perfect hybrid classroom look like to you?
That's something where actually the teacher, neither the students do not really realize it's a technical environment. Yeah, so we have managed a few installations throughout the last years where literally the teacher can walk in, he switch on the lights, he has the interactive display ready, and he has just one communication board, and he can start working and he can start teaching or coaching people. And that's the perfect room environment for both sides, for higher education as well for work. Yeah, because I'm also very classic. Yeah, people are laughing because I'm always using my paper notebook still. Yeah, but but I mean, that's reality. Yeah, in work environment and also in universities, you should have whatever you invent technically, it should be 100% integrated in the work environment and the expectations. And you should really get people hooked, and you don't do it with higher resolution, with anything technically impressive. It should be 100% integrated, so they don't realize it's a technical environment. That's for me the perfect hybrid installation. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. All right, thank you very, very much, Hilmar. I really appreciate that, and thank you for answering all of our audience's questions. Now it is time for our third speaker of the evening. This is Cornelia Schneider-Punks from Microsoft Deutschland. She's an education specialist and a modern classroom team lead. She studied linguistics, held positions at the Ministry of Education, was a personal advisor to the minister. She's been at Microsoft Deutschland since 2018 as an education specialist and a team lead for the schools sector. Her talk tonight is Learning Never Stops: How to Engage Students and Enable School Success. She's going to tell us about how to use modern digital tools to achieve better learning outcomes, whether hybrid, online, or on-site. So again, just like you did last time, you guys did a wonderful job of asking questions. We will have a Q&A at the end of the presentation, so you can post your questions throughout the talk, and I will collect those at the end. So now I would like to hand over to Cornelia.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be able to speak today, and I'm really impressed about what Hilmar just presented. So very impressive surroundings for learning, I think, and would be interested to connect afterwards, actually. So thanks for having me. Microsoft is on a long journey in education, and we have been active in the education sector for 15 years now, or even longer. And we still are on a long journey, especially in Germany. We are exactly facing the problems or challenges that Hilmar just mentioned. So we are facing a very fragmented market, be it in universities or in schools. So this is what me and my team are working at the moment. And we have a clear roadmap in education, actually, and this has been so for many years, as I just said. So we always have a look at the holistic education system components, so to say. This is the example for K-12. So for kindergarten to 12, for all the schools, be it private or public. And we always consider all aspects. So we really try to have a look at what's going on in the organization. What is teaching and learning all about? What do teachers actually want to achieve? How can we empower school success, and what environments are needed? And it's exactly what, for example, Panasonic is delivering. For example, we are creating Teams rooms now for ever more schools and also universities to be able to guarantee that learning continues and learning never stops. What can we actually do for education systems at the moment as Microsoft? As you all know, we have a huge range of products that could be used in education, and actually many of them are already in place. So of course we have found responses to hybrid learning environments, and we always emphasize that the access has to be there for every single student. And the challenge at the moment is exactly what we heard in those two presentations beforehand, to reach all learners and to motivate all learners. This is really depending very much on the technical environment, but also on motivational aspects. So of course we emphasize collaboration and social emotional learning in everything we do, because we think it's really essential to keep students motivated. Right, of course, security and privacy are very important aspects, especially in the K-12 sector. So we are confronted with this topic every day, as you might have noticed, and we are really trying to offer the right solutions, and really negotiating this also with schools and system leaders. And I would really also like to mention that skilling is an important integral part of education at Microsoft. So we will see more of this in the next few views. Hybrid learning, we've discussed this already, is something new to us. So we are still used to quite a traditional learning system, especially in German schools. So everything is quite audience focused and monodirectional, and hybrid learning is completely different. So you have different scenarios. You have to combine the on-prem scenario and the digital scenario. So this is the challenge that we are actually facing. And we absolutely need to have the right infrastructure for that, which is really complex. And we usually don't have people in place in institutions in Germany that are able to imagine and realize such an environment, because it's completely new to them. I mean, this is absolutely normal, and there we are all on a learning journey. And of course, the pandemic has boosted this learning journey quite a lot. And we are still here and taking each and every step together with our customers. Right. I would just love to give you a quick overview of what we've got. I mean, it's huge. It's far too much to talk about this in 15 minutes, but I would just like to give you an impression that we are actually covering the skilling of students from primary to higher education. So we have offers from Minecraft, for example, which is used quite a lot in primary education, to enable gamification in class. For example, how do you visualize biological phenomena and so on, and how can students walk through an environment and learn at the same time? Those are the things that are discussed in primary education. Of course, we have secondary education. We have the classic collaboration tools, which is of course Teams. You might have heard of Teams, which is used by now about 2 million students in Germany, only K-12 students, excluding higher education. So you can imagine what kind of importance this has become in the last few months. And of course, we also have Microsoft Learn. You might not know Microsoft Learn, maybe you do. I will, of course, deliver all the links so that you can check it out, which is completely free and full of interesting IT learning materials for schools and, of course, also for higher education. So you can actually get your certificate there. You can do a certification on, say, Microsoft 365 or Azure or whatever you're interested in. So the whole range of our technologies is reflected in certifications. So we absolutely think this to be essential for the future of students and for their ability to succeed in the working environment, which is going to change significantly. Okay, so what do we actually do if we get back to schools or if we have hybrid learning scenarios? We are challenged, for example, in a way that, IT training academies or schools or universities need their environments to try things, to keep IT skilling going. And we have set up many virtual labs for that purpose in the last few months. And of course, also delivered the online trainings. So those are always running on Microsoft Learn. This is just an example of how complex this can become and what kind of environments are needed to enable hybrid learning. Of course, Teams is the backbone of everything we're doing in education, because it brings things together. It connects existing learning tools with the standard Microsoft apps that you might need to be productive in your everyday communication, and it keeps students and teachers connected. And this has proven to be one of the most essential functions that was needed in those days when the pandemic hit, say, in last March. So the connection is absolutely fundamental, and it helps also to maybe to avoid procrastination, as we just heard, to work in a team. And we are really happy to be able to deliver group work now in video conferences and channels on Teams. So this has proven to be really effective for schools. I will go a little more into detail in a minute. I'm not sure if I think I'm nearly running out of time, but I wanted to show you some of the practical examples that we actually have. So I will switch on. Here you can see a classic course structure of schools. So usually they create courses for each and every learning group, and the courses run with the learning group through the whole curriculum. So for example, if you look at the English course, here you can see the feed, the class feed, which is kind of the, like the break room or the the hall when you get into the school at the moment for many schools, and they created their own way. And there are some typical education features that are not present in the usual working environment that companies use in the commercial environment. So, for example, you see Klassennotizbuch, course notebook at the top, which is a special education feature, and of course tasks that can be put. So it's like an LMS. It has become ever more an LMS in these months. You see an example of group work on the left-hand side, where you have several group channels. So this has become really popular among schools, and the protected teacher channel. Right. Of course, we have a bunch of apps that you can use in Teams. You can integrate everything you need and everything you want. So there are two quick examples. One is MindMeister. You can, of course, use mind maps in your lessons, which is really very common also. And teachers love to have their students create mind maps as a beginning of lesson to make it more interactive and to really enable real-time collaboration. And for example, you have the classic studying tools like something like Quizlet, as you can see here, where you can have your flashcards and even some little games to practice vocabulary and stuff like that. And one more thing I would really like to add here is you have your institutional video content. So that means you can have your own YouTube, which is really important for schools to have their protected system. In this case, it's their tenant. So they store their videos within the tenant and can publish them for the school public, so to say, and not for the whole public, which is always a little difficult for the reasons we've just heard about, that we have people that are not adults. Students are usually not allowed to, by their parents, to publish the content they create in schools on YouTube directly. So this is a protected area where they can do so. I could continue now for ages and ages, but I absolutely don't want to exceed time here. And I'm ready to answer all your questions. And of course, I will share my deck and everything that might be of interest. By the way, I'm mentioning this tomorrow. We have the kickoff for our new webcast series, so you're more than welcome to join and see what else can be done in lessons with Microsoft Teams and all the other tools that you just heard about. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Cornelia. I do have a couple of questions from the audience for you. The first is, Cornelia, how do you learn about new tools and technologies?
Yes, I'm usually, due to the fact that we integrate many new technologies and new tools, we have a lot of it coming through our app in Teams. But of course, I'm always very open and very curious to learn more. And I check Twitter regularly. So you have the Twitter Lehrerzimmer, as you might know, where you have a lot of people sharing their latest content and their latest lesson ideas and so on. And you always learn so much more about new tools. And of course, you also check what are the competitors doing.
Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. The next question is, do you have best practices from an international context where data and privacy law aren't as strict as in Germany that you could maybe share with us?
Yes, we actually have. So we have a great regulation in Switzerland, which is comparable as far as strictness of data privacy rules is concerned. And they created a framework agreement with some of the federal states in Switzerland, or with each and every federal state, actually. So they agreed on a framework agreement and on certain special configurations for those states, and they absolutely are absolutely safe, on the safe side as far as GDPR is concerned. So Yeah, this is one example. Of course, we have other European neighbors, for example, the Netherlands, that have managed to do so as well. And France is another example. They are equally strict, but it's all about, talking to each other and negotiating and finding the correct configuration for schools and for learning institutions in general, to make everything safe and compliant to the rules of the country. And Microsoft, of course, is more than ready to do this.
Yeah, wonderful, thank you. Okay, I have one more question here that kind of ties back to that first question. But what do you think is a good way to motivate educators to keep up to date with tech?
Yeah, this is quite a challenge. I think it's all about how you address them. I think usually we are flying a little over the top as companies. So this is my personal opinion. We really need to be careful not to overwhelm them with tools and functionalities and tech. Yeah, I think it's essential to really help them with their first steps. Many of them are really also afraid because they have never worked so digital and in such a digital environment. And I think it's all about taking them by the hand and showing them each and every detail they need to know so that they really feel safe and comfortable when they're standing in front of their class.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, and then I have one more question for you, which is very much about you and your experience. So how has the education system changed since you started working at Microsoft Deutschland? And kind of what do you expect to happen now?
Yeah, this is really a tricky question. I started at Microsoft in 2018 and the world seemed completely different at the time, even though we thought, okay, now the Gdpr is coming, schools are getting more budget, things are really going to change. Nothing really changed. So that took quite a while. And only when COVID-19 hit, unfortunately, things began to speed up a little. I'm not sure if we will experience a little backlash now, because as soon as schools are reopening, many teachers are kind of relieved because they think, okay, my gosh, I don't have to continue in this completely digital way of working, which is completely different to what they've experienced before, of course. And I think that we might experience such a little backlash, but I'm pretty sure and quite confident that the socket of what we've created now in hybrid learning is going to stay. And we will never again ask if we need digital learning in schools, but only how we realize it. And I'm really pretty confident that this is going to continue, and that makes me optimistic.
Wonderful. Perfect. Thank you so much, Cornelia.
You're welcome.
I actually have a question. If you could stop sharing your screen, Cornelia. Is Jose still in the call? Jose, are you still there? Because we have now received a few questions for you.
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Okay. So the first question was, sorry, I have to scroll up a little bit. How does Studium really help me manage my time? Is it kind of a calendar like Google's or something like Microsoft Project?
Okay, basically it's like Microsoft calendar, but with drawing again and again every time you have a new change of schedule. You are doing things correctly or not. So it redraws completely the calendar anytime you need it. So it's more on the look and feel. It will be more like a Google Calendar or similar, no companies or any calendar. But in terms of what is going behind and the user is not seeing, but it's a little bit of the concept of a project management and tools like Microsoft project will be something that it's somehow, but it's not experienced by the user. It's directly shown the solution as a calendar.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Jose. And there is one more question about that, and that is, could it be integrated with Teams or Google Classroom?
Absolutely. The only thing is we are asking certain information that so far as we've seen, Microsoft Teams is not asking, and we need to get that information, basically the expectation of time that is going to take the student to reach a certain to complete an activity. That's a data point that we need, and it's not being asked right now by Microsoft Teams, but it's designed as an API, and we can absolutely integrate with the Microsoft Teams or any other platform as needed.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jose, for still being available to answer those questions. Sorry they took a minute longer to get there, but thank you so much. All right. It is now time for our fourth and final speaker of the night. This is Uwe Erpel, head of the EdTech Engineering Department at Cornelsen, which is one of the leading publishers of educational media in Germany. He's also a member of the IMS Europe Leadership Board, where Cornelsen is a contributing member of IMS Global. He has more than 25 years of experience in software development, is very much an advocate for modern software development best practices and EdTech solutions, scalable solutions. So his talk tonight is using standards to create a flexible and sustainable EdTech ecosystem. And we'll look at how to find the best systems to establish a flexible and future-proof infrastructure. So again, we will have a Q&A at the end. Please do post your questions in Twitch at any point throughout the talk. I will collect those at the end for the Q&A. And now I would actually like to hand over to Uwe. So Uwe, you can start your...
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I hope you can see my screen. Just one moment. Thank you for inviting me. You have already said something about me. My current position is head of EdTech Engineering. We at Cornelsen, we are a publishing house, which is focused on textbooks, but digital products are increasing, and we have huge department, EdTech Engineering. More than 40 engineers are working here at my department, software engineers, solution architects, business analysts. So my background is also a technical background. I started my career as a software developer, and I also became product manager, and now I'm engineering manager. And what I think, what really is thrilling is the combination of technology and education. That is what drives me personally. So something about Cornelsen. Cornelsen is when you were born and raised in Germany, or you went to school in Germany, then Cornelsen is probably a childhood memory for you. Almost everyone has used a Cornelsen textbook at some point. Cornelsen is one of the 3 major educational publishers in Germany. 80% of all German teachers use Cornelsen products.
To interrupt you very briefly, I'm very sorry,
yeah.
But we are not seeing your presentation. I wasn't sure if you wanted to be sharing that.
Okay.
I'm so sorry to just interrupt you like that.
I'm sorry for that.
I wasn't sure if we were...
Yeah. Okay. So...
Ta-da!
Can you see that right now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. You should have noticed that earlier.
I wasn't sure, yeah.
Mentioned that earlier. Okay. So, no, moment, just back. So, yeah, we'll start here. So, I start this beautiful video again, which shows our Cornelsen buildings from the sky. So I told you something about Cornelsen. Cornelsen was founded in 1946. The first book of Cornelsen was an English book, and English is still we are market leader in English for schools, and our program has 23,000 titles, which the range is from early childhood education and primary education to secondary education, vocational training, also further education. We are not active in higher education. However, if you are interested, for instance, in vocational training, since this EdTech meetup is focused on higher education and organizational training, we have our company, Cornelsen Academy, which is a company which is focused on vocational training. They have very modern digital solutions for professional training and vocational training. We also have some other brands, for instance, Student, which is well known in Germany as the standard for German language. Veritas is in Austria. So Cornelsen focuses on the DACH region. That means the German-speaking countries. Let's make a thought experiment. Imagine you are a manager of a school district or an educational organization, and you want to build up your own EdTech infrastructure. So what's the situation? Look at the image and you see, for instance, in the United States, you have a huge amount of suppliers of solutions. So the question is, how can you use the right solutions for your organization? What can you do to have a very flexible system, a sustainable system? And sure, you want also have a one-stop shop for users to access all possible digital solutions. You don't want to struggle with different logins, for example. So, and there is actually an approach to solve that. That is the use of standards. So we use standards every day. Nearly everything is standardized. We standardize time measuring. We standardize the size of batteries, even how your telephone number looks like. And the same situation is in the EdTech sector. There are a lot of standards to make sure that you have interoperability between your tools. You can share data, data governance and accessibility are also important topics. So there are a lot of standardization organizations. Maybe you know some of them. If you are for a longer time in the EdTech sector, you are familiar with the SCORM standard. SCORM is one of the oldest standards. It is a standard of advanced distributed learning organization. But there are other that are very long-lasting. For instance, IEEE published the LOM, Learning Object Model, and there are other institutions, organizations who are creating standards. So question is, why did we choose IMS Global, and what is IMS Global in general? So IMS Global is also one of the biggest standardization organizations. It's actually oriented to the American market. However, there's a very active community in Europe, and it's community-based organizations. There are 582 members in 26 countries. There are 3 types of membership. We as Cornelsen choose to be contributing members. That means we pay a certain amount of money each year, and therefore we can we have the benefit to work on standards. There are there's a technical task force where some of my colleagues work, and there's this IMS Europe Leadership Board, and I am the representative of Cornelsen in that leadership board. So we have the opportunity to get access to all the specifications, to work on the specifications. And the standards are very important. There are standards like LTI or One Roaster, which are very important for our business, for our systems. Another point is that you can get certified with your products. There's a catalog of IMS certified products, which is hosted on the IMS website. You can search there for products for which standards they implement. So if you, for instance, want to decide you need, let's say, a learning management system which fully implements the LTI standard, you can, for instance, look at the catalog of certified products. So next thing I want to show you is a short video which explains much better than I can in a very short, in a very few minutes, how these standards work. So if you can't hear that, please mention. So a moment. So
a real challenge for faculty who are trying to make productive use of the expanding sources of digital applications, content, and resources. Students are frustrated by multiple logins, and IT staff don't have the resources to keep up with integration projects in a timely or cost-efficient manner. Luckily, there's an easier and more efficient way to make the best out of exploding options of digital resources by adopting a set of proven open standards from IMS Global Learning Consortium, a nonprofit organization comprised of some 80 leading institutions and approximately 120 suppliers who are committed to advancing technology to actually improve educational experiences. Institutions of all types can save 10 to 100 times the cost and time to implement and support a seamless interface of digital resources. While IMS Global has over 25 standards in existence today, there is a suite of digital learning services standards consisting of just 3 of those standards that every institution should require when purchasing new digital applications, tools, and content. By simply requiring IMS conformance certification to these 3 key standards as part of the purchasing process, an institution can move naturally over time towards an open academic enterprise while lowering costs, making IT staffs more agile, and enabling faculty to innovate to improve learning impact. The IMS Digital Learning Services suite of standards include the Learning Tools Interoperability Standard, or LTI for short, establishes a standard way of integrating rich learning applications with platforms like learning management systems, portals, or other educational environments. Adoption of LTI enables digital tools to plug and play into any learning or instructional management software or portal that is IMS certified. LTI also enables transmission of outcomes and progress data back to the LMS or a separate gradebook or data warehouse application. The Common Cartridge Interoperability Standard provides a way to represent digital course materials, including assessments and discussion forums, for use in online learning systems. Content can be developed in one format and then used across a wide variety of learning systems. Common Cartridge enables instructors to assemble digital resources and publish those in reusable and changeable packages that are easy to create and share. Many LMSs, IMSs, and content authoring tools enable creation and export of common cartridges. Learning Information Services Standard, or LIS for short, enables interoperability between teaching and learning applications and student information systems, allowing student data, class data, and grades to move seamlessly between systems. With very little effort, institutions and systems can become more productive and efficient by simply joining the IMS digital revolution by enacting policy to encourage IMS certification. If you are interested in learning how you can begin integrating with IMS conformance certified products, please send us an inquiry at imsinteroperability@imsglobal.org.
Okay, so when you think about how can you use standards and systems to connect it to a plug-and-play ecosystems, there are two metaphors that you can use. First is think of a building block, a Lego building block. They have every block has the same interface. You can put it in various ways together. And the second metaphor is think of so solar system where you have, for example, stars, planets, and moons that represent the systems, and the open standards allow it to connect these systems. And as you can see, you can do that in different ways. There is no blueprint. No exact blueprint. There are blueprints, of course, but there's no exact blueprint. You can, as the name says, it's plug and play. You can almost use everything as long as it supports the standard. And I want to show you an example how an implementation of an architecture could look like. Yeah, that is an example. You can, as I said, you can do it in different ways. And when you look at it, you see there is the educational organizations with a blue border and maybe a publisher. I assume it's always Cornelsen, so I choose the red border for that. So in the center, you have the learning management system, which is the heart of the organization, of the educational organizations, where all students and teachers log on. And the information about the users are stored in a student's information system. And there you can see the first standard which can be used. That is one rostering for exchange rostering informations. So then you have on the left side, you see learning tools, for instance, assessment systems, which are connected to the learning management system. And these systems are from different suppliers. And the connection works because these systems have implemented the learning tools interoperability standard, which allows to connect systems and which solves for you the issue of authentication and authorization. So for the user, it's absolutely seamless. On the right side, you see the authoring process. There are standards like QTI, question and test interoperability, which is a format to describe, for instance, an exercise. And then you have standards, for instance, case. Case is standard describe metadata on the learning data. Finally, you have to store the learning results. There are systems like a learning locker, which is a learning record store. And there you also have standards, for instance, Caliper, which is from IMS. But there are others, for example, Experience API or Exp API, or you can also say Tin Can. It's nearly the same, which is not an IMS standard, although it is heavily used. So that's a very simple example. It's foundation level. You can expand it. You can add functionality like open badges, for instance, or other things. That's just the basic. So let's get back to the first question. If you are in the situation that you, as a manager of an educational organization, you want to build your EdTech ecosystem, what are the key questions, or what are some of the key questions? Yeah, one key question is, will your institution be digital on day one? Yes. It can make use of the one roster standards, so it can connect to their students' information system, for instance. If you want to think about privacy and security issues, there is the IMS security framework. Or if you want to think about, how can you add learning content, there are several standards, for instance, Common Cartridge and Thin Common Cartridge, which defines the format of the learning content, and LTI, which solves the problem of authentication, authorization. And sure, of course, as I mentioned, the case standard is also important. So that's a short sneak preview of using standards. I could make a deep dive. The specifications are very, very extensive. So thank you, and your questions are welcome.
Perfect. Thank you, Uwe. Thank you very much. I do have the first question for you from the audience. They would like to know, disruption usually comes first and standards follow later. How do you ensure that the standards keep up with the times?
A lot of the work that we do in the technical task forces is related on that issues. There are members of different European suppliers and educational organizations, and of course, we are talking about what are trends in education. Are there systems that get more importance? For instance, systems that are during the COVID pandemic, for instance, video collaboration systems like Microsoft Teams get more importance. And sure, we are talking to suppliers of these products, of these systems. And also we talk about implementing standards. They have, as I said, they have big benefits when they implement standards. They could join the greater world of EdTech ecosystems. So it's a benefit for suppliers, and also in the task forces we are talking about standards and what are the challenges. Just to mention Gdpr. Gdpr is a huge topic, and a lot of the work in the task forces were related on the Gdpr issue. Yeah.
Definitely. Perfect. Okay, I don't have any further questions in the Twitch chat at the moment, and you did kind of just answer the one I wanted to ask you, but maybe I'll ask it again specifically. So in your experience and over the last couple of months, what's the major impact of the COVID-19 situation been on this topic?
Yeah, there's a huge impact because there is so much pressure on the schools now to provide digital solutions for distance learning. So, and our federal countries in Germany, the Bundesländer, they also provide their educational clouds, the Landesbildungscloud, as we say in Germany. Each federal country has its own cloud. For instance, in Berlin, we have the Lernraum Berlin. There are others like HPI Schulcloud, also commercial suppliers, It's Learning, or in Bavaria we have MEBIS. Some of them are basically Moodle instances, for instance, the Lernraum Berlin. So and Moodle is fully compliant to all these standards. And also other clouds like HPI Schulcloud is fully compliant. So there's technically a good chance to connect our systems to these educational solutions, and so it was a very good decision that we focused on these standards like LTI, Common Cartridge, and One Roaster. So yeah, to say it shortly, it's yeah, the engine that drives the digital transformation in the educational sector is yeah, unfortunately also the COVID-19 pandemic. So yeah, that's so there's much pressure to solve, to provide solutions.
Definitely. Thank you so much for answering that for me as well. I don't have any further questions at the moment, Uwe, but I will let you know if any more pop up in the next minute or so. So now, before we move on to the networking section of tonight, I would like to give all of you the opportunity to make any announcements that you have, because this is what meetups are about. They're about connecting with other people. They're about networking and sharing. So if you have anything that you would like to share, please do feel free to post about it in the Twitch chat. This can be about open positions or cooperation partnerships or your own upcoming events. I also have a few announcements to make. The first is, we heard from Jose earlier tonight about the new product Studium, and I just wanted to say again, this will be coming out and will be launched in the next week or two, and will then be available in the App Store and in Google Play. So take a look, check it out. Also, Hilmar has kind of very kindly extended or emphasized that there is an open invitation to their Business Solution Center. And you can check out a virtual tour of this from Panasonic online. He showed me a little bit of it earlier. It's really cool, so do take a look at that. I think the links are also in the chat. And then Cornelia also told me that there is a new webcast series from Microsoft. She mentioned it in her presentation as well, that's coming out tomorrow, I think she said. The link for that is also in the chat, so definitely it's worth taking a look at all of these things. And then I think, Uwe, you had an announcement as well to make.
Yes, can you still see my screen?
Yes, you can stop sharing.
Yes,
and then we'll see.
Okay, I want to share with you that we have open positions. We have lots of open positions in our company. I would focus on my department. You can find all open positions at cornelsen.de/karriere. For my department, I'm looking for a DevOps engineer, which focuses on Amazon Web Service, and I'm also looking for a product owner for the topic of creating and inventing business models, new business model. He or she should also have a technical background, so he or she must handle, our e-commerce systems, our licensing systems. So a technical background is needed. However, business model is the topic for that position. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Uwe. I also have a short announcement. Last time we had Nina Schwarting here at our second EdTech meetup, and she talked about digitalization for Auto Group's logistics employees. And she told us about a project that they were just starting to roll out. So we checked back in with her because we were very curious to see how that had gone. And I do have a short update for you. They produced the entire logistics basics course on digitalization for their commercial employees. This included over 80 learning videos. They produced it with over 80 colleagues from 6 different countries, 55 speakers, which is just crazy to think about and kind of shows how diverse and multifaceted that whole thing was and is. And they're currently doing a pilot course this month that aims to reach 100 people at Hermes Fulfillment by the end of the month. So hopefully next time we'll get another kind of status update and see how they're progressing. And thank you very much to Nina for sharing this with us. And the last announcement is actually from me. I'd like to take the opportunity to share my contact details with you as well. For those of you who don't know Effiport, we create and enable exceptional organizational learning experiences through our technology, through our content, through our services. We do this together with Frankfurt School, with our customers, with other companies. And we're very much curious about what's going on in the world of technology. How can we experiment with that and use it to create the best solutions for you? And this event is kind of a perfect example of the things that we love to do, because it's an example of us learning together with you. So I'm always curious. I want to know what you're excited about. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know what challenges you're facing. So please do feel free to reach out to me directly. You can send me an email. You can also go visit our website, visit our social media. Just kind of a general invite to reach out to us, because we're very curious about you as well. Perfect. Okay, then it's time for the networking part of tonight. First of all, a big, big thank you to our speakers. It was so nice to hear from all of you. We really appreciate it. And a big thank you to you, our audience. You asked some great questions. And now it's time for the networking, where we really can all just talk a little bit more about these kind of topics. You can interact a little more with each other. This will take place in the Twitch chat. I will be there as well. I have some questions prepared for you, and we can talk about everything that we just heard and everything that we just learned. So one last thing, don't forget to come back here in about 20-25 minutes. I have one last announcement for you before we end for tonight. So I'll see you in the Twitch chat in just a minute. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you all so much for participating in the chat with us and also answering those polls. We found out that you really value ease of use in EdTech solutions, that you think they're most helpful with online learning, and that you are using a lot more EdTech now than you were before. So those are all good things to know. Before you go, there's one thing I'd like to ask. You can really help us understand how we did tonight and how we can improve in the future and deliver the event that you want. I've sent the link to the survey in the chat, so please do take a minute to fill that out and let us know what you liked and what we can do better. All right, I'd also really like to invite you to our next meetup. It will be taking place on the 31st of March, and this time we'll be talking about compatibility in EdTech. We've looked at the learner needs, now we've had a look at the available technology, and in the next meetup on the 31st of March, we'll be exploring compatibility between these two to find the best solution for you, for your learners, for your business. Before we go, I would like to say a very, very big thank you to our speakers tonight. Also, a very big thank you to my colleague Katharina Rudi from the Frankfurt School of Finance and Management for organizing this wonderful space and the fantastic speakers. Also, a very big thank you to my colleagues Mario and Manuel from Effiport for managing the tech setup and making sure that everything runs smoothly. And also, a big thank you to you, our audience. Without you, this quite literally would not be possible, and we really appreciate having you here. So, thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.